What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today is going to be day 2, rounds 2 and 3 of this mock draft with trades. Thank you so much for watching and showing your love as always. If you haven't watched round 1, go do that. We're going to be doing a quick little recap right here anyways. So again, for those of mine who are listening to the audio version of this, I heavily suggest you go watch that. We will be continuing to reference it, but it's a great way to continue the show and be able to, get some things going on the road. So starting off, we'll be only discussing primarily the trades unless I use a filler player, which I have not in the first round. But essentially, for those of y'all who can read, feel free to go and read. We had a trade with Arizona that got an extra second round pick in both this year and next, with the Falcons ending up moving up for Jayden Daniels. Part of that trade back ended up with Arizona selecting Drazon Johnny Newton there at pick 9. At pick 10, Chicago ended up trading back and getting a 1-2-1 with Buffalo. Naturally speaking, that does seem a little bit rich, but when you do analyze the fact that Chicago ended up trading from pick 20 to pick 10 and cost them a first-round pick, this is pretty damn understandable. So Romo Dunze ends up going to the Bills. Naturally, they're looking for a wide receiver 2, potentially a wide receiver 1 based on the antics of Stephon Diggs, especially with his reduced snap count. So naturally, there is that trade right there. A lot of stuff there was actually very few trades in this. I didn't really go trade heavy because a lot of really good players fell. And, I just didn't really feel like there was a massive gap in talent, that there weren't many teams that I think were desperate for offensive tackle talent that would have moved up. Like, I probably could have moved up with the Patriots to be able to select a tackle here, but damn, that's an expensive price to pay when this team does need some wide receiver help and can always get that in free agency. Regardless, we are back with the Carolina Panthers here at pick 33. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff today because we're going to get through pick 33 to pick 100 because, yes, there are some compensatories here with PFF. I talked about don't overthink it a billion times during our first video. Now, I think we need to continue that trend by just getting the right player for the Carolina Panthers. And that's going to be a high-end wide receiver. And naturally, I hope the offensive line continues to improve. The only offensive tackle that is available is Tyler Guyton, who I do really like, but I'm not going to be putting him to left tackle. He is too raw, and this team needs an instant impact. So if you're going to go after a left tackle, go after one in free agency. Could have tried to trade up with him, but you're still pretty damn limited on capital. Just Troy Franklin's the right move here. You could, of course, go Xavier Legette, who I have like very, very similar range to Troy. I'll scroll down so you guys can see a little bit more of my board. My next highest player that is available is Christian Haynes, and then it would actually end up being Denzel Burke and Dwight McLaughlin. So we'll scroll down so you guys get to see actually Johnny Wilson as well. But Troy Franklin's going to be the choice here. Smooth, buttery route runner, very fast in a straight line, just really good overall at gaining separation. I think that's exactly what Bryce needs, is just having guys who he can trust to be open. And that's going to be Troy Franklin. He's up to 190 pounds, which is good. He needed to. He was a little bit thin at 177, and now he went up to 187, which is roughly going to be 190. Can get him up to there in the offseason. Overall, fantastic player. Smooth, buttery hips in terms of his route running. That sounds so wrong, but it is what it is. Just overall, great player. Don't overthink it. At pick 34 for the Washington Commanders, the right thing to do is to go after offensive line here. We're going Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. They need offensive tackle. They end up getting one of them for their commander-in-chief, so to speak, no pun intended, in Caleb Williams. At pick 35 for the New England Patriots, I've just been doing this week after week at this point, but I'm a sucker for storylines. What can I say? We're going Devontae Walker out of UNC. You pair him up with Drake Maye. My Patriots fans are always here for it, but I do apologize for the repetition. Like, at this point in the draft cycle, there's some players to certain teams that I just have fallen in love with. And, I think that there's a particularly right move for the majority of the franchises available. But at pick 36 for the Arizona Cardinals, I'm actually going to negotiate a trade back There's a team that I think really could use a star edge rusher. And there's a team right here in the Giants that very well might take him at that spot. And, it's a team that just recently selected. It's the Commanders. And people are going to say, well, they have more needs. And I agree. But for the price of essentially a late third round pick, which the Cardinals can use more quantity than quality, right? I mean, they're going to, surprisingly, based on last year's overall draft, I actually really like the quality they got with the quantity. But I'm going to trust them on day 2 to continue hitting on those high notes. And the Commanders, that is expensive to give up for a team that is this poor. But, you really do need to hit on being able to snag a top tier edge rusher. And you got JT Tuimoloau here. You just, again, don't overthink it. Get a star player who's 270 from Ohio State, just chilling there for you. Your edge rushers are pretty garbo. Giving away both of your top tier edge rushers is not great. And essentially we did end up, I think, giving the one pick that was for Chase Young away to move up for this spot. So it's kind of like poetic justice. We're replacing an Ohio State 270-pound edge rusher with an Ohio State 270-pound edge rusher. At pick 37 for the New York Giants. So just to clarify, we had the Panthers go Troy Franklin, the Commanders go Tyler Guyton, then the Patriots go Devontae Walker, and then trade up with Arizona for Washington to draft JT Tuimoloau. So Washington has now addressed tackle, edge rusher, as well as quarterback, which are their 3 massive holes. At pick number 37, the New York Giants are back on the board. It's a team that, I really do like overall. And, there's just a couple massive holes. And one of those is quarterback. In the second round, I think it's justified to take a swing on JJ McCarthy. He has the mobility that Daniel Jones has. So I think he can operate in a very similar offense. And he has higher upside than what you have in, Tommy DeVito. Love Tommy DeVito. He's a great personality, someone who I would love to have as a backup quarterback. There's some money that's still tied up with Daniel Jones, so a second-round pick is a little bit more digestible than a top 5 pick. So we're going to be going JJ McCarthy out of the University of Michigan, going here at pick 37. At pick 38 for the Los Angeles Chargers, they're in a great position because you can get top-tier safeties. You can also get top-tier corners and including a top-tier wide receiver. But, talk about the talent here. You got Kamari, TJ, Kalen, Denzel, Dwight. All these players are phenomenal corners. Phenomenal corners. Even Quinyon Mitchell is a phenomenal corner, which means you could trade back, get more draft capital, and then still end up snacking one of these guys. Sure. I wouldn't really be against it. Now, I could trade back up here with Arizona. I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers by doing a trade up with Arizona. Oh, my God. I already hear it. But I'm going to do it. The feathers have been ruffled, and I am going to continue to ruffle those feathers. Pick number 100 was sent in a trade up from, 41 to 36. So from 41 to 38, I do think it is more than appropriate to send the 104th pick and actually potentially get, a round 7 pick back in the future. So we actually get finally a 2025 7th round pick. So we're going to force that on through. The Cardinals end up moving back up with a lower draft capital pick, but the Chargers end up actually getting a little bit more capital and will still get the player that they want. While Arizona, we're going to get the dream pick for y'all. It's Xavier Legette. We've already addressed defense twice with Johnny Newton as well. Actually, Drazon Newton combined with Kool-Aid McKinstry. With the 38th pick, the Arizona Cardinals are going Xavier Legette. I know, very similar to what I did in my 2-round mock draft, but we actually ended up getting another 3rd-round pick out of it, which is great. We actually essentially moved up 4 spots to move back 2. And we got a 7th-round pick out of it. So that's cool. Tennessee Titans are sitting here at pick 39. The reason I moved up is because Xavier Legette would have been the target I would have went for the Titans. And naturally, defensive back and wide receiver, the positions I want to go after. We already went after Joe Alt. I'm going to actually go after a corner here. And whether it's Denzel Burke, Kalen King, Kamari Lassiter, I don't think it really matters as much as, maybe I'd like to think it does. But, Kalen King is phenomenal. It's hard to say no to Kalen King. He's a great enforcer. You have some pretty obvious weaknesses, which Penn State corners tend to have, which is, again, those 45-degree cuts, just not the best at covering them. But someone who I really do trust in terms of all other facets of the game. He had one bad game versus Ohio State, but at least here, he has some other corners to rotate with, and he's a major asset in the run game. I'm going to go Kalen King, who is actually, I lied, Kalen King's my 18th overall player. He was, besides what I already had in Christian Haynes, my next highest player on the board. At pick number 40 for the Green Bay Packers, we ended up addressing the secondary with Terrion Arnold in the first. And naturally, this always happens. The safeties fall. And I think it's the right thing to go after one of them. I always go after Tyler Nubin now, but why not go Cam Kinchens? Safety is a massive hole, and you need to continue addressing it with more and more defensive secondary players. This is the proper thing to do. At pick 41, Chargers, we are back, and we are taking that corner I was talking about. And it's going to be Kamari Lassiter. I think he'll be taken above Denzel Burke just naturally because he'll be probably faster, more reliably healthy, and he's also from Georgia. So he's going to be a corner too as well, so he has time to develop. And Asante Samuel, I think, would be a very good mentor for Kamari Lassiter, essentially added in an early 4th round or a late 3rd round selection for free. At pick number 42 for the Arizona Cardinals, we're back again. We have gotten Xavier Legette, Kool-Aid McKinstry, as well as Jerzon Newton. Not many more positions, I think, that need to be addressed. I'm looking at Chris Braswell here. I do like that a lot. Looking at the offensive line, because I do think we could address that actually right now. But Christian Haynes would be such a good fit. Put him at that left guard spot. That'd be ridiculously good. But of course, we can get Jackson Powers Johnson here and get a value edge rusher because I love BJ Ojolari. I think he's the future. Obviously, he was a top 10 player for me, and you ended up snagging him in the second. So good for y'all. We already addressed that defensive interior spot. Let's go Jackson Powers Johnson. And you can, of course, move him around in the interior of the offensive line, but you're going to get the best center in the class, not named Graham Barton, but best true center in the class. At pick 43 for the Las Vegas Raiders. I should have taken another corner just so I could have brought in JPJ with Kalen King again. Naturally, I really need to start thinking ahead on these and being biased, but that's just not who I am. The Raiders ended up sitting and staying put, and we ended up drafting Nate Wiggins in the first. Yeah, we've lost out on QB, which sucks. It is what it is. There's a lot more holes for us to fill with proper value. I actually might end up trading back here. We might test that theory out, but defensive interior also needs help. I think that quarterback might be the right move to be able to address in the offseason in terms of being able to bring on one that is more of a free agent. I want to address the defensive interior here with Chris Jenkins. High upside run defender who can actually be flexed out wide as well. I don't think he's as good of an edge rusher as Michigan wants him to be because they're using him there quite a bit, especially yesterday. But he's a phenomenal player, great run defender, very powerful at his size as well. Just overall a good player. At pick 44 for the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to run to the podium with this pick. In the first round, the Vikings ended up targeting one of their star positions that they need in quarterback, and they got Michael Penix, who is the rising star of the week. But this pick at 44, the Vikings will be targeting Chris Braswell out of Alabama, high upside edge rusher. He's just very consistent. I have him there in my 60s, just a really solid player. There's a big drop off after him in terms of the community consensus. I don't know if Ellis is going to be coming out. Don't know why we don't know that yet, but time will tell. But I do have Ellis above him as well as Xavier Thomas, but Chris Braswell will be going before both of those guys. At pick 45 for the Philadelphia Eagles, hard to say no to Tyler Nubin at this point. Also, I wish Kamari Lassiter were here, but I do think corner is on the Eagles' radar for sure. You got Denzel Burke here, hard to say no. I do think linebacker as well is a massive hole in this team. There's not many positions I think that are off the table that do have the proper value at this point. I'm going to be going Denzel Burke out of the Ohio State University. We have quite a few corners that are available on the squad, and I do think James Baldberry will be gone. Denzel Burke is proper value. It's proper value. I mean, hell, it's great value. Wow, what am I talking about? He's my number 24 player here at 45. A ridiculously talented corner. he's gotten better and better. He just had a little bit of a stumble last year, and he's had a couple injury issues, but that's the only reason why he'd actually be here in the draft. The New Orleans Saints are back on the board. Leonard Taylor is here, and it's going to be between him and Ruka Roro. To be fair, actually, Tyler Nubin is also available. I've gone defensive interior for the Saints the past 3 drafts. So let's go Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota. It's a fresh face here at pick 46. This team does need secondary help. We drafted a J.C. Latham in the first round for the Saints. And so Tyler Nubin will be the selection here in the second. Both safeties will be up for a contract after this year, i.e. in 2025. And both of them are aging as well. Tyler Nubin is just incredible value. So great player with great value at pick 46 for the Saints. At pick 47 for the New York Giants, again, this is a trades mock draft, so we could be making some moves here. You got some really good wide receivers still on the board. A.D. Mitchell, Jermaine Burton, Jaylen Polk primarily, Johnny Wilson as well. We ended up selecting a star in Malik Neighbors in the first, as well as a quarterback in JJ McCarthy very recently. So one of the other positions I do see addressing is interior offensive line. I know some people want to address that Evan Neal spot, but he's progressed enough, in my opinion, to kind of solidify himself there. There's still an edge rusher that is available, and you could honestly back up or go back-to-back wide receiver picks here in terms of back-to-back days. Could get Johnny Wilson to be the true X wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, and then pair up with Jalen Hyatt in the slot. That'd be pretty damn nasty. And then you also potentially have your tight end of the future once you end up moving on from Darren Waller. So I actually really like that idea. Just going heavy offense because there are really good interior offensive linemen there at pick 69. It'll be a very nice pick. I don't see any more weapons that would be available. This team's been looking for a 6-foot+ wide receiver who can actually be super dynamic as a true X for a long time. I'm going to go with my gut and go with my number 19 overall player in Johnny Wilson. At pick 48 for the Cincinnati Bengals, this is another pick that I might be running up to the podium. It's between 2 players here for Cincinnati, and it's going to be Leonard Taylor as well as the tight end Jatavian Sanders. Now, we'll see how he does versus Adefewon Olufosho in the championship. But actually, I need to rewatch that. I'm lying. They're not even playing the championship. They lost. But I didn't see too much from Jatavian Sanders. I do think it's a big need for Cincinnati, and we'll probably get good value on defensive interior there in the 3rd round. This tight end class is kind of bollocks, just to be blunt. We'll go Jatavian because at this point, again, it's very little supply for a position that's honestly a very large need with a player who is playing very similarly to what they have right now in Irv Smith. At pick 49, that would have been my pick for the Texans. So the Texans are back on the board, and in the first round, they went after Emeka Egbuka. And at pick 49, the Houston Texans are going to be targeting Leonard Taylor III. Super high upside defensive interior out of the U, baby. We love the U, apart from how they've been playing recently. But naturally, you need to be able to address the secondary as well, but the defense needs some help. I wanted to target some secondary help there, but there's going to be some players that we could probably draft in the next round, assuming that we do have a 3rd round pick. But I'm pretty damn sure that we do. Regardless, defensive interior is a massive hole for Houston, and it needs to be properly addressed. At pick number 50 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, we drafted Amarius Mims in the first round. Holla, holla. With the 50th pick, I'm really, really tempted to go after TJ Tampa or Dwight McLaughlin with these picks. Both of them are phenomenal players. Linebacker as well is pretty damn top tier in terms of value. Again, do we complete the fantasy and go Cedric Van Pran? I kind of want to. Like that sounds really fun to me. Is there a short range trade where maybe we can get a little extra draft capital? Like, is there any good players on the board that we could potentially pawn off in order to make the dream come true? Because I'm just not fully ready to take him here. I guess I am, but I do think that an interior offensive lineman like Christian Haynes, especially with a team like Green Bay, I know that we've been talking about Sean Ryan actually doing a timeshare there at guard and doing well. I still think Christian Haynes could be brought in to even replace that center role. I do believe that I think Balky might be like extremely intrigued with this pick. I'm gonna do that trade. I'm gonna get a little ballsy here. We're gonna trade up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Plus, they don't need all of these. Jacksonville Jaguars don't have that many holes. This is a position that they could totally upgrade at. I know they have Ezra Cleveland in there, but I do believe that the Steelers could massively take a huge jump by basically going down 4 spots to jump up about 20. Jacksonville Jaguars, you're getting my number 12 player in the class, so do not complain. But the Jacksonville Jaguars end up selecting Christian Haynes out of Connecticut. You end up pretty much swapping a third for a later 4th round pick. Pick number 51, back with the Green Bay Packers. So just to clarify, Jacksonville ends up going Christian Haynes. Pick 51, the Green Bay Packers are on the board. We've already selected a corner as well as a safety. I think we need to start going back to the running backs. Blake Corum is a great running back. I don't know why Jonathan Brooks is still listed. I mean, pretty sure he's going to be going back. He had an ACL tear. The running backs just naturally are going to be lower on PFF's board as well. Braylon Allen is just going to be the right pick later on. I always try to force it to this team, but, it is what it is. I just naturally, I really want to be able to make some trades here. But a defensive interior is another position that you could totally target. Getting someone who is more primed as a run defender, but Byron Murphy's here. Byron Murphy needs to come off the board. Someone who I wanted to push early second, and I failed to do so. What's a team that needs defensive interior? Chiefs. We're going to move up with the Chiefs. They value versatility, and based on how Byron Young has been playing, there you go. I just think it's the right thing to do. The Packers just continue to move back because I just don't see the proper value for them anywhere. I ended up having the Steelers end up getting pretty damn good value here. So I think a future third and, the Green Bay Packers, because they don't have very many needs, sending in one of their picks, this is going to be proper value. Again, 88% chance to be accepted based on the trade value here. If you really want to move back and do your own little trade calculations, feel free to do so. But I don't think Green Bay has that many issues, and it would be smarter to accrue future draft capital with a team that's trying to win now. So the Green Bay Packers end up moving back a little bit. Honestly, I kind of low-key think I should have given the Packers a little bit more, but, again, doesn't affect this mock draft. Pick number 57, though, with the Kansas City Chiefs, we are addressing defensive interior with Byron Murphy II. Phenomenal player. He's not yet on my board. Just want to get an official grade on him, but ridiculously talented, well-deserving of all of our respects. He's been playing great all year long. I picked number 52 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We ended up going after a star edge rusher in the first, and Jared Verse. Should not have honestly been there. Unfortunately, I would have loved for Christian Haynes to be here. Probably would have selected him. Cedric Van Pran is available. I think I'd rather go after someone who's going to be a little bit more flexible in terms of their role. Cough, cough, Bo Limmer at pick 84 than with this pick right here. Other positions, because I do think they need to continue addressing a multitude of them. I really like Edgerrin Cooper to this team. I do think they could go after one of those linebackers, and it's probably where I'm going to go. Edgerrin Cooper is not going to be my linebacker one. My linebacker one is Junior Colson. He made some huge plays yesterday, and is going to continue to make huge plays in the NFL. He's one of the few Mike linebackers that are available in this class, and I'm trying to put more respect on his name than what he's getting, so we're going to continue doing so with Junior Colson. Indianapolis Colts are sitting here at 53, and you guys know exactly how I feel. After going Cooper to Gene in the first round, the Indianapolis Colts are going A.D. Mitchell. I know I've had some Colts fans who've been asking for it. Gave it to y'all last week. I'm doing so again this week. Cooper DeJean, A.D. Mitchell, kind of a dream combination if you ask me. He's going to pair up very, very well with Michael Pittman Jr. Ended up having a little bit of a sluggish start, but once he ended up catching that super highlight reel, so to speak, that to me sold it. It really did. At pick 54 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we're completing the dream. We're going Cedric Van Pran for Pitt. We're getting a full Georgia offensive line here. Broderick Jones at left tackle, Cedric Van Pran at center, and then Amarius Mims at right tackle. All massive needs, to be honest, as well. So we're getting need with value and chemistry. It's just kind of a fantasy I wanted to complete. So enjoy it. Steelers continue to dominate. I'm not going to use that in the caption again, but it is what it is. At pick 55 for the Los Angeles Rams, hard to deny Joe Milton's value at this point. We're a team that will be looking for a quarterback of the future. However, I do know a lot of y'all have been talking about Quinyon Mitchell being a good fit for the Rams. I love his ball hawk ability. I think he'd work very well in the secondary. So we're going to go Quinyon Mitchell here for the Rams. In the first round, they drafted Braylon Trice, so this is going to be a very defense-centric draft. At pick number 56 for the Chicago Bears, center would have been ideal for me. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to really target a center here. Zach Frazier and Bo Limmer, Drake Nugent, all those guys are not necessarily great options here at pick 56. So, naturally, let's look at some other positions. I think safety, you could look at that. I've heard from a lot of y'all that safety is a position you really do want to hone in on. This honestly might be a great spot to trade out, though. Like, I'm not seeing very many positions. Tight ends, You could look at potentially getting a future at left tackle here in Karan Amajaje, but, that Braxton Jones is not that poor of or he's not that bad of a left tackle to be worth moving off from. This team is just really damn good. Honestly, I could see them going after another wide receiver with Darnell Mooney moving out and going after McConkey, Burton, Worthy, or Jaylen Polk. Can you imagine Jaylen Polk being on this squad with DJ Moore? Like, I know y'all need center so badly. You do. Screw it. We're going balls to the wall. Jaylen Polk, wide receiver out of Washington. Ridiculous value. The Bears are just getting absolutely unbelievable value here. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaylen Polk, as well as, who'd you guys get? Dallas Turner, right? Yeah, y'all got Dallas Turner. Ridiculous. Kicking ass. The Bears end up helping out Justin Fields there. Again, get a center in free agency. If you can't get the proper value, also we have a third round pick, so we're probably going to do it there. If you can't get the proper value, don't do it. Don't do it. Get the best player available. You have only one wide receiver solidified for the future. Get two more. There you go. At pick 57 for the Green Bay Packers, this is a spot where I could see them actually drafting Karan and developing him under Rasheed Walker, because Rasheed will need he'll probably start for another year, and Karan's going to be available at the start of the year, but he's going to need some time to develop. This is where I feel comfortable. I think when healthy, he's a top 64 player in this class. At left tackle, which again, has a great start, but a really shit finish, this is really good value. I'm going to elect to take him. He's going to sit, he's going to develop, and honestly, that's exactly what should happen. But at pick number 58 for the Philadelphia Eagles, we've addressed edge rusher, we've addressed corner, we're going to address linebacker, baby. We're going to do it. The value for a Mike linebacker, because Michael Barrett's a sixth year. I didn't even realize that when I started taking him here in the second. It's just, we're going to trade out of here. We're going to pull a Howie. We're going to get the hell out of here. Wide receiver 3 is also a good position to target, but with a starting level cornerback like TJ Tampa on the board, I could see some teams getting really hungry for being able to address that position. Granted, none of which I think the Eagles would trade with. I mean, I guess they could trade with the Niners. They have plenty of compensatories, and they will continue to acquire a billion compensatory picks. So actually, I might do that. You're just enabling your competitors, though. Naturally, you don't really want to do that. But, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that the Niners are going to get like that poor of value. They're at the 63rd overall pick. So, for a, 5-spot differential, I think pick 131 could be the proper value. But what we're going to do for the Eagles is get them a little bit better value and be able to trade away a little bit of their compensatory in the 4th. So the Niners essentially move back one whole round to be able to move up 5 spots to be able to select a superstar corner here, which is what they need. So the Niners get ridiculous value here with TJ Tampa. Shouldn't be on the board, but he is. And they jump the Lions as well. The Lions, however, are still having with an ace up their sleeve. They're getting Dwight McLaughlin, cornerback out of Arkansas. They ended up drafting Chop Robinson in the 1st. But, naturally, they're going to be able to grab a super stud here. Shaw Smith-Wade is the placeholder. It is Dwight McGlothern, my number 25 player in the class. Just don't think he goes before TJ Tampa. At pick number 60 for the Cleveland Browns, another team that I could see making a trade out here. I think they'll actually look at some wide receiver here with Jermaine Burton on the board. Do love that. But I'm actually going to opt for defensive interior with Rook Ororo, my number 34 player in the class. Super high upside. Someone who you can flex as an edge rusher as well. 295, pure muscle, great player. Just kind of been prospect fatigued his way down the board. At pick 61 for the Miami Dolphins, this is going to be an easy, quick one for me. It is Kalen Bullock, safety out of USC. This secondary needs help. They got roasted by Baltimore. And with Grant Barton helping out the offense, you need to help out the defense. This is one of the last pure safeties that I feel very comfortable with. The Dallas Cowboys need a center desperately. I don't think there's many other positions that maybe run stuffing defensive interior that is like big need. And looking at the value available, it's not good. The value's not there. I do think a wide receiver like Jermaine Burton should be a priority for some teams that do need wide receiver. Unfortunately, I've kind of taken wide receiver to the majority of teams that, I would feel pretty damn comfortable taking Jermaine Burton to. However, I could see a team like the Panthers trying to get some extra chemistry in their receiving core, because I don't see the value really anywhere else. You got Patrick Paul here, but it's tough to say that Patrick Paul is worth a second-round pick. I mean, it really is. So I'm going to make a super short-range trade. I think the Panthers need to get a little ballsy here because I think the Eagles could be looking for a wide receiver 3 as well. It's going to be a super small-range trade, 3 spots. Pick 138 will be proper value. Why do I think that? Did the Eagles not just trade away pick 138? I thought they did, but, it is what it is. We're going to trade that away to the Dallas Cowboys. And the Panthers are going to select Jermaine Burton, who has experience there with their star quarterback in Bryce Young. So Bryce Young now has 2 new toys, and Jermaine Burton as well as Troy Franklin. At pick number 63 for the Philadelphia Eagles, could actually get Patrick Paul and try to train him up, but man, I don't feel comfortable with that. Again, we have picks 97 and 98. I think the wide receiver, Howie's going to go both offense and defense. There's no way he's going to go 3 straight defensive picks. As much as I want to force it, we're going to go Ladd McConkey to be that wide receiver 3 mold. Super explosive, and honestly, he has the speed to also make up for it. Good route runner, great after the catch, just slipping a little bit, but he could certainly be the steal of the draft at this point. At pick 64 and ending off the second round, we have the Baltimore Ravens. This is where I think Patrick Paul could be useful, but we drafted Troy Fautanu in the first round, so no real need for that. I drafted Xavier Worthy last time, so I'm trying to stay away from, again, having a back-to-back style of draft for y'all. Corner, do you have Josh Newton available? You have Ennis Rakestraw available. You also have DJ James, who's phenomenal. I don't think that slot or safety is like that big of an issue. Otherwise, I'd go Chris Abrams-Drain or Mike Sainer still, because I like both of them a lot. Like both of them very, very good players. Naturally, there's not many positions I think they need to target. Running back, to be fair, could go the first running back off the board. It is a very run-centric team. It's not a huge need for this squad, but you are getting the best possible value. And Trey Benson's a phenomenal player. Go best player available. It's what the Ravens do every single time. So I don't really see much changing there at 64. At pick 65 for the Cowboys, this is where we ended up getting like a little bit of extra draft capital back. This is where you can see a center. We ended up moving back enough, and that's where I feel a little more comfortable. Zach Frazier's a little bit of a reach, but naturally you just have to, take what you can. There's no center that's going to be available there at 93. I already know it because I'm going to be taking them for other teams. And Zach Frazier is considered the best of the bunch. I like Drake Nugent a lot. He's done a phenomenal job this year. Bo Limmer, he's a great player, but I trust him to be more of a right guard, so I'd rather get that versatility. We're going to go with Zach Frazier. At pick 66 for the Washington Commanders, we have gone after right tackle with Guyton, edge rusher with JT Tumalau, as well as quarterback with Shadur Sanders. I saw his Shadur right there. Freudian slip, Caleb Williams. So with pick number 66, honestly, let's go Patrick Paul. Worst case scenario, he kicks into your offensive line. So the Commanders end up going after both tackle positions and select Patrick Paul out of Houston. At pick number 67 for the New England Patriots, it's a team that doesn't really need much at all. Would have been a great spot for Patrick Paul. And honestly, it's a great spot for Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. The Patriots have already drafted Devontae Walker as well as Drake Maye. Blake Fisher has a ton of upside, so I do believe it'll be the right move for him to go and work under Bill Belichick for a year before potentially being the future starter. Maybe he ends up starting year one, but at least you know that you have someone there for the long run. At pick 68 for the Arizona Cardinals, we have gotten Xavier Legette. We have gotten Kool-Aid McKinstry. We have ended up going after as well Jackson Powers Johnson, as well as defensive interior Jerzon Newton. So stacked on both sides of the ball. You could go edge rusher here, and I think this is where I do go after Jonah Ellis. I think that his upside is just ridiculous. He's 246 pounds, and he plays 260. He really does. He's a feisty player. He is a top 32 player for me, and you're just going to continue getting players who have high motor and just kick ass. I do believe that's the right thing to do for the Cardinals. At pick 69 for the New York Giants, we have ended up addressing quarterback with JJ McCarthy, wide receiver with Malik Neighbors, and with our last pick, we got Johnny Wilson, another receiver, but also potentially future tight end for y'all. So we've addressed the offense really heavily, and I'm debating continuing to do so with Cooper Beebe here. Just a consistent high upside offensive lineman that he's a high floor more than anything. He's just a consistent dude. Just go Cooper Beebe and don't think about it too much. At pick 70 for the Los Angeles Chargers, we've gone after tight end with Brock Bowers. We've gone after cornerback as well with Kamari Lassiter. And we're going to get a deep threat for the Chargers. The Chargers are going Xavier Worthy at pick 70. At pick number 71 for the Arizona Cardinals, we're back again. You got to do what you got to do, man. I'm going to look at the defensive interiors and see if we can get anybody of size. I really like McKinley Jackson's value at this point, 325 pounds. He's extremely athletic as well. He's going to complement Jerzon Newton to a T, who is just sub 300. So you have a 295 and a 325 defensive interior being brought on. That is the way to fix the defense right there. At pick 72 for the New York Football Jets, wide receiver would have been a great move. We have kind of limited the guys here. You do have Brennan Rice, however, who I do think is an asset at this point. You could go defensive interior as well. We went after Olu Fashanu in the first. Actually, I might go Brennan Rice here. I actually might. So 6'3", 210, he does complement Garrett Wilson very well. I'm going to see how he works as a complement there in New York. It's a third-round pick. It's worth sending. Of course, now a team that really could have used Brennan Rice, we have the Atlanta Falcons. We ended up trading 2 picks to end up moving up in the draft and selecting a star quarterback in Jayden Daniels. You need wide receiver and edge rusher next. Now, I'm not saying that because PFF says that. You know that you need that. And I'm actually going to be very nice to y'all. I've been saving this player because I don't think that people think of him as highly as I do, but he had a 92.8 PFF grade in his championship game or his bowl game. It's Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. I've had him as a top 32 player this entire year. And, there's certain players that I just am extremely stubborn on. He is one of them. I love him to death. I don't know why people don't like him, but, the only reason why Brian Ugwu has an ADP probably in general that is less than 300 is because of me. And I'm going to continue using him as my placeholder. I don't know why he's not listed, but Xavier Thomas, edge rusher out of Clemson, he is about 260 pounds. I know that he's been fluctuating in weight, but ridiculous athlete. He was supposed to be like the next first-round edge rusher out of Clemson after Cleveland Ferrell, and, he's kind of gone under the radar ever since. At pick 74, we're back with the Chicago Bears. This is going to be a center, and we're going to actually end up getting Drake Nugent, center out of Michigan, potentially, that Harbaugh connection. So far, the Bears have gotten Drake Nugent. The Bears have ended up drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. They've drafted Jaylen Polk as well as Dallas Turner. Just build up the defensive and offensive lines and end up getting your weapons there. Safety, another very underrated position to target, but center is a much bigger issue, and Drake Nugent's really good value there. At pick 75 for the Las Vegas Raiders, we're getting a quarterback, baby. We're going Joe Milton out of Tennessee. Super high upside, just needs to learn how to process the game better, but, when you can just trust Devontae Adams to get open every single play, I love that you guys get to see that my mouse floats like that. When you get to trust Devontae Adams to be open every single play, it's pretty nice to have a quarterback who can throw 90-plus yards and just be like, all right, screw it. If you can't process on this play, just throw it to Devontae. It's one of the few teams that has a good enough receiving core, and in my opinion, a developing offensive line that's good enough to allow Joe Milton to have those slip-ups. He has a higher upside than AOC, and honestly, that quarterback competition is going to be great. So, actually, I did not expect Joe Milton to fall this far, but, maybe it would have been a better pick for the Jets. We'll see what happens in the comments section, but we'll see. At pick 76 for the Detroit Lions, y'all know exactly where I'm going with this pick. It's the pick that I think is the best for this team, and honestly, going back to Arkansas, I love it. He was an elite tier right guard and has center experience, so can fill in for Frank Ragnow when injured, and is going to be the future right guard. So Bo Limmer is going to be the dude. At pick 77 for the Seattle Seahawks, they need linebacker first and foremost. I'm going to be targeting that ASAP. You got Edgerrin Cooper here, who is extremely talented and super versatile all around, very good at the coverage game as well. Peyton Wilson just has too many injuries, but you can't go wrong with it. We're going Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M. At pick 78 for the Denver Broncos, we went quarterback in round number 1 because that's just the right thing to do when you're potentially losing Russell Wilson. I didn't factor in a trade here, but, I could see Russ being traded. Could see it. Some people say the Steelers. That wouldn't be a bad location for him, low-key. I don't think that would be the location he ends up going to, but potentially the Rams, if they end up, losing Matt Stafford. Honestly, let's do that trade. Let's just say the Rams lose Matt Stafford. He says, you know what? I'm hanging up the cleats. And, Russell Wilson's like, okay, well, Baker Mayfield had success here. I think I could succeed in this offense as well. So we're going to actually trade him to the Rams. And I don't think it's going to be a 3rd-round pick. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's an old quarterback with an expensive contract. Could end up being, we could end up tossing in some cookies here, a 4th-rounder and plus that for good old Russ. It ends up potentially, you could try to toss in pick 87. It would affect this mock draft, but I'm just not there. I'm not there yet. And I might be wrong, but Russell Wilson ends up going to the Los Angeles Rams. So that's part of this pick. So that's fun. So you got Bo Nix now leading. Russ was cooking. Now he's going to be cooking in LA. I do think this team should be focusing both on edge rusher, which you do have Jack Sawyer, Adisa Isaac here. Both of them are very smart, as well as wide receiver. I do like Ricky Pearsall. I don't want to underrate Ricky, but, it's tough for me to accept them being proper value at this specific point in the draft. Again, really not appreciative of the fact that Julian Fleming and Mario Williams are here when and Bo Collins, and I think Xavier Restrepo, when all of them decided not to come out. I don't know why it's very hard to just not delete them from a database or just move them to a different one. You got Jacob Cowing here, who I think is special, and he's going to be a really good complement to the receiving core for the future as well. Okay, do you, PFF mock draft simulator, pain in my ass. But we're going to go after one of the star receivers that are left on the board in Jacob Cowing. Slot receiver, he is actually, where is he on my board? Where are you, Jacob? Number 45 overall. At pick number 79, we are back with Seattle. We've addressed linebacker. We've addressed defensive interior as well with Tavondre Sweat. And could go after edge rusher here as well. Again, this is a team that could use Adisa Isaac, who's very smart, solid run defender. Would not be against it. But let's go with that left guard spot. Let's do it. Donovan Jackson's here. We're gonna make it work. I do know I've done this pick before, but the value's there. The value's proper. At pick number 80 for the Cincinnati Bengals, we've gone tackle with Talise Fuaga. We've gone tight end with why am I tripping on his name? Jatavian Sanders. So now we're going to go defensive interior. Brandon Dorlus is here. not a big surprise why I would take him. So Cincinnati goes Brandon Dorless. At pick 81 for Arizona, we've already gone after wide receiver. We've already gone after center. We've already gone after edge rusher. Already gone after corner. We did something else too. We also went after another defensive interior. So we got after 2 defensive interiors. So naturally, we've fixed the D-line. We got a corner in there. Could go another corner as well. Just continue developing that secondary. I don't feel like it's a bad idea. Again, could go a guard here as well. Just, continue adding dudes to the roster. But I do that all the time. I think I'm going to go running back. I mean, Bucky Irving's here. He's here for the taking. I feel like he plays very similar in terms of the overall strength that what you're seeing with James Conner right now. Like, I do think that he could imitate what you have, and it's just good value. Bucky Irving's a great player. At pick 82 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we've gone after center and right tackle, both out of Georgia, by the way. So we got a whole entire Georgia offensive line. And now it's down to corner, which you got Josh Newton here. That is really good value. Very hard to pass up. You got corner as well as linebacker. Linebacker-wise, we can get a potential superstar. Jeremiah Trotter is good value as well. But you got Peyton Wilson here, who's very hard to say no to. And injuries, again, are honestly the reason why we're in this situation. So it's going to be tough to say, let's go after an injury-prone linebacker. And there are dudes down the board that I do trust. So I'm actually going to go after that corner route. We're going to get Josh Newton to be our corner 2. Ennis Rakestraw's in that equation as well. But Josh Newton's been a little bit more consistent, in my opinion. So overall, great player. I mean, both of them are phenomenal. You can't go wrong. At pick 83 for the Green Bay Packers, I telegraphed this from a long time ago. We're going to be going after a running back in Braylon Allen. It just fits what Green Bay really is. It is what it is. Green Bay ends up going after Braylon Allen. They ended up drafting a tackle in Karan Ahmad-Jadje to be the future of their left tackle as well earlier on. At pick number 84 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, we've drafted a lot for the Buccaneers. So, have we actually drafted a lot for the Buccaneers? I lied. I mean, just naturally speaking, I did both these videos back to back, but we got Junior Colson as well as Jared Verse. I do think that we could try to focus on the offensive side of the ball now. And when you have some really good interior offensive linemen still available, like Christian Mahogany, it's not a bad idea to upgrade. I did end up opting out of interior offensive line because I do think that, with the value of Bucky Irving, makes a little bit more sense. But Christian Mahogany is a starting quality guard. And this team is looking for a starting quality guard. So for me, this is proper value. Let's go after Christian Mahogany out of Boston College, who ended up beating SMU. So screw y'all, but it is what it is. At pick number 85 for the Indianapolis Colts, we have A.D. Mitchell as well as Cooper DeJean on roster. That's great. Now, looking at the defensive interiors available, you got Mason Smith here, who I don't know if it's one of those guys who I forgot if he's decided to declare or not, but, he does fit the bill as a super high upside defensive interior that I want to draft. Like, I think nose tackle or getting a sizable defensive interior is the next position for the Colts to go after. So when you can end up addressing it with a player with extremely high upside who needs a year of development before DeForest Buckner's up, that is where you want to strike. So Mason Smith going to be the target there. At pick number 86 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, ended up moving up with the Pittsburgh Steelers and ended up getting Christian Haynes. So we've ended up getting Keon Coleman as well as Christian Haynes. Both those guys, really good players. At this number 86 overall spot, going after the best defensive back is probably the right thing to do. And between Chris Abrams-Drain and Mike Sainristil, who are both slot/safety guys, and Ennis Rakestraw, who's a true boundary corner, I'd rather get the value of a boundary corner. So I'm going to go after Ennis Rakestraw Jr. At pick 87, the Los Angeles Rams have acquired also in a trade Russell Wilson. So that's pretty cool. We're bringing him back to the NFC West because I'm assuming that Matt Stafford's going to call it a year after this. He's called it a career after this. So Matt Stafford's gone. Russell Wilson's in. And we also have ended up bringing in Braylon Trice as well as Quinyon Mitchell. So the Rams are kind of prospering in this draft. I think they should go linebacker because of the fact that naturally their linebacking core sucks. But this is not a team that's ever valued their linebackers. I mean, I guess to be fair, they did end up getting Ernest Jones, I think, as a compensatory third or an early fourth round pick. So I'm actually going to bend the rules here. We're going to go Peyton Wilson out of NC State. If they don't care that much about their linebacking core, I think they're going to be perfectly fine getting a first-round quality player with injury issues. So they just want to get potential upside right there. Peyton Wilson is the dude. At pick 88, the Green Bay Packers got this from Buffalo with the Rasul Douglas trade. I do think they actually might be opting for a second defensive back. And, I mean, who better to get at this point than Mike Sainristil, who's used to that cold weather? You can put him in the slot and put him at safety, and I think he complements really well with what you are dealing with right now with Tyler Nubin. You're essentially going to be getting a Keyshawn Nixon replacement here. So you're getting 3 defensive backs, but I think that's where you need to put the majority of your focus. So we're going Mike Sainristil here, slot corner / safety out of Michigan. He's a great player. Doesn't have an official grade or an official spot on my board, but he's a damn good player. At pick number 89 for the Chiefs, we have ended up addressing wide receiver Brian Thomas, as well as making a small move up to select Byron Murphy II. Again, those 2 positions I think this team needs the most. Now, another position this team could try to target, I mean, naturally is just going to be wide receiver, but, you know, the value of this wide receiver class is really stacked in the first 2 rounds, or potentially 3 if the draft doesn't fall the way I expect it to, which never does. I could see them going after another tight end. I could. But damn, I don't really know what to target for this team anymore because the tight end's just not available. It's just not. Tackle, Javon Foster's here. I really like that. Let's go Javon Foster out of Missouri. They need to have some upside at left tackle, and Wanya Morris ain't it. So we're going to go Javon Foster here. I should have went, honestly, earlier. He is my number 64 player. Should have probably taken him above Karan, but Karan, to be fair, is a developmental player. Fits Green Bay a little bit better. At pick number 90 for the Houston Texans, I've gone after wide receiver and defensive interior so far with Emeka Buka as well as, why am I tripping? Chris Jenkins. Did I go Chris Jenkins? No, I went with Leonard Taylor for the Houston Texans. Yes, so Leonard Taylor, Emeka Buka. This team still needs linebacker help as well, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on that just yet. I'm going to look at some other positions for the Texans. Tight end, again, just not a fan. Luke Lackey might be a guy who sneaks in. But I do like the interior offensive line potential of Zach Zinter when he comes back from his broken leg. Tackle-wise, damn, you got Jonah Monheim here. That is really underrated. He's a good player. Honestly, I could see Washington trying to make another move, but we already kind of traded away our 3rd round pick for that. I just don't think the Texans are that desperate, but I could go Jonah Monheim here for specifically the Commanders. I don't think the Commanders have that many issues. They do have the 102nd overall pick, and I think they can end up sending a future 4th round pick to the Texans for this. So essentially sending a late 3rd and a 4th round pick to move up 12 spots. I feel like that's relatively fair. You could end up adjusting the trade value yourselves, but this is going to be Jonah Monheim. I haven't put him in here for a while, but he's been playing tackle, and I think he should play guard. So you're going to get him to play interior offensive line, but you're pairing him back up with Caleb Williams, someone who he really does trust, and that's as much as you could probably ask for. So you got technically 3 tackles, but one of them is interior offensive line. This team, like their offensive line's ass. So, the Commanders end up addressing it with Jonah Monheim here. At pick number 91 for the Detroit Lions, we've addressed interior offensive line, defensive interior, and corner. Surprise, right? Or actually, no, we haven't addressed defensive interior yet. We addressed edge rusher and cornerback. So the standard. This is going to be Mekhi Wingo going here at 91 to Detroit. Again, penetrating, pass rushing, defensive interior. It makes sense. At pick 92, the Cleveland Browns have already selected defensive interior Ruka Roroho. At pick number 92, again, this team doesn't need very much, but, oh, man, safeties aren't great except for James Williams. I do like James Williams, just can't really see him here. I'm going to actually opt for Javon Bullard, super high versatile safety out of Georgia. He's going to be a slot / safety, somebody you can use in pretty much all facets of the game, multiple different packages. That to me is valuable. For pick 93 for the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to opt for running back here with Marshawn Lloyd. You're going to want a replacement there for what you already do have. And as much as I want Deuce Vaughn to be the face of the franchise, I just don't think it's very realistic to expect that. So Marshawn Lloyd, with his fumbling issues, is going to be the face of Dallas. So they address tackle, they've addressed center as well as running back. Not many issues that I think would be fixed with the defensive line availability at the moment. At pick 94 for the San Francisco 49ers, you could just go BPA for this team. And, I think that could be another secondary player like Chris Abrams-Drain. Just naturally, you're going to get somebody who's super duper versatile. Other positions of note, you already have your future tight end there that you drafted in the 3rd round last year, so don't really need to target that. You could go actually after maybe another linebacker at this point, Tyron Hopper, because I do think your Sam linebacker is not too great. And there's not many packages with him in it, but I think I've drafted Tyron Hopper to this team multiple times now. I'm going to do it once more until I'm confirmed, but just a really exciting high upside player. At pick 95 for the Baltimore Ravens, I think that the Eagles are going to take a quick jump here. And Baltimore Ravens are great at taking this type of value. So it's going to be super duper minute, but naturally they're going to end up getting probably a 7th round pick compensation out of this. Like maybe they get 2 7th round picks. It's jumping 2 spots in the 3rd round. It's really nothing, but the Ravens are good at maximizing those later round picks anyways. The Eagles are moving up and jumping the Steelers to select Jeremiah Trotter. I'm going to double check what I did with my Eagles picks elsewhere. Yeah, I got Ladd McConkey. So we got Ladd McConkey. We ended up getting Denzel Burke as well as, did we get Leatu Latu? We did. Oh, this is a studded draft for the Eagles. Jeremiah Trotter is now a Philadelphia Eagle. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting here and they're like, all right, well, damn, you took Jeremiah Trotter, who has already played for the Eagles. We're just going to end up taking Tommy Eichenberg here. So the Pittsburgh Steelers take Tommy Eichenberg. Not a bad compensation. You got Josh Newton, Tommy Eichenberg, and then both of the Georgia offensive linemen there for Pittsburgh. It's as good as you could probably ask for. At pick 97 for the Baltimore Ravens, this is going to be Chris Abrams-Drain. I just think that's the right move. Looking back on the other picks, you got Trey Benson here as well as Troy Fautanu. You could go defensive interior, actually, with who's available. You got Tyleik Williams. I actually like that versatility. We'll go Tyleik Williams and, just let him kind of find his role. He is still a top 70 player, I think, on my board. Oh, excuse me, number 71 now on my board. At pick 98 for the Philadelphia Eagles, could see them doubling down on linebacker here, just because that's what the Eagles do. Tackle-wise, don't really see anybody who is worth developing. So, RIP to that idea. But you could also see a running back here. Don't feel like that's the Eagles' way to do things. So I'm actually going to double down on linebacker. And there is one that's not even listed here. I do like Michael Barrett a lot, but I don't think he's even listed, and he's not. But we're going to use Omar Speights as a placeholder for a Defwan Olufosho linebacker out of Washington. He's just super consistent, good run defender. He's going to complement Jeremiah Trotter well because Jeremiah Trotter at 230 just cannot handle enough size. And he's at Defwan Olufosho has at least enough meat on his bones to complement very well. At pick 99 for the Buffalo Bills, we're finally back. And this is as good as you could probably ask for. We are going to be getting Chris Abrams-Drain. So if the Bills walk out with Chris Abrams-Drain and Rome Odunze, they're going to throw a huge party. Great player. He's a top 70 player on my board as well. Just spectacular value there for Buffalo. And ending off the draft at pick 100, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who have addressed wide receiver, defensive interior, edge rusher, corner. Did we address corner twice? No, we got running back as well, center. They're doing well. Bottom line, they're doing well. So how can we continue and end off this draft on a perfect note? Could get Jack Sawyer here, who is really, really good at stuffing the run. Could end up getting a Disa Isaac, another edge rusher who's really, really smart. And I like him a lot. I could get Zach Zinter and just take the value of somebody who is falling, but I just doubt NFL teams actually do that. Like, they end up valuing health quite a bit. Could go even linebacker here and get Michael Barrett. I actually really like that. He's a 6-year senior, but this is proper value. 6 foot 240 and a damn good linebacker too. He's ended up ascending in that final year there for Michigan. So we're going to see him there in the Natty as well. That is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and showing the love that you always do. See you on the far side. Peace.